So we're recording right now, and Dan, what's up, man? I know you're out working hard, and so we came up with a solution to record this call for you, so you can still be here. You can watch this later. And I was just sharing with Susie that I'm about to drop some gold bombs on you guys and give you guys a lot of value today. That is going to it's just going to give you a lot of value and add a lot of tools in your toolbox, so that you guys are extremely confident and prepared. We're going to talk about different scenarios, and we're going to talk about, we do a little bit of role playing, and I'm going to remove a lot of the mystery of, I think, what's happening, which is what caused frustration, right? A confused mind does nothing, or a confused mind gets frustrated, then does nothing. So we're going to work through that. So just so you know, again, just to reiterate, Susie, what you guys are experiencing is completely normal. If you were not in the thick of things, you would not experience this. So if you were not action takers, this wouldn't be happening. You would be saying something else, like you would be saying something like this. And look, I work with a lot of people. I usually hear at this point, we're just been real busy lately with, cutting the grass or watching the grass grow, and we just haven't had a whole lot of time, and yada, yada, yada. And what someone's really saying, what I'm really hearing is, I'm confused when people say certain things, whether it's a seller or a buyer. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to respond. I don't have enough tools in my toolbox. And so that confusion takes me to a place of uncertainty. I want to be at a place of certainty. I want to have a quick answer to reply back to them, but I don't have it. I don't have that tool in my toolbox. So what we're going to talk about today is a couple of things, and then I'm going to also refer you to some amazing training that I'm looking at, our own bottom line going up, because I'm using it. It's free training that you can get from Grant Cardone. I'm sure you've heard of Grant Cardone. And although I'm not a big fan of some of the things he says, as far as I think some of the stuff he says is distasteful, but as far as the sales training skill sets, I think it's some of the best I've ever heard. So I'm going to refer that to you, but we're going to go through it. It's stuff that I'm using on the phone with different types of customers. I'm teaching it to Diana as well for her business, and it's just a definite game changer that you guys are going to love. So without further ado, you shared that you have talked to some renters. You got a lot of renter leads. Again, that's normal. They're focusing on the rent part of rent to own. They forget their own part. Most of them don't understand it. It's the first time. So imagine if it's the first time for a seller who's actually bought the house. Imagine how a renter who's going to be like a first-time buyer. They're all used to the traditional vanilla thing, right? You get a realtor. The realtor finds your house. You buy the house through a bank, etc. So what you're talking to them is German, right? You're talking Spanish to them. They don't know what you're saying. So that's okay. While we accept it, some are just going to always be renters, and that's fine. You're going to be shocked that that you can actually convert some of those would-be renters into renter buyers, and it's just a matter of knowing what your hook is. So if you can do me a favor and open up some kind of a document, it could be a Word document, it could be a notepad of some kind, anything that I can write on, and I'm gonna request control over your screen. But it doesn't matter what kind of a document it is. It just needs to be something that I can write on that you both can see. All right. What's that?
I'm gonna get you.
I was gonna make that joke, and then I was like distracted with president. But I was gonna say, yeah, I gotta run real quick because cops are after me. But the truth has come out. It's a scam.
Okay.
All right. So any kind of like a new document is cool. And then what I'm gonna start doing is teaching you guys how my brain works from a copywriter standpoint, how I convince people that I've never met or seen face to face or whatever to buy stuff from me, whether it's a house, whether it's something small or something big, and how to translate this content into a cold conversation with somebody. And a cold conversation is essentially just, the first time you get on the phone with somebody, even though it might be slightly warmed up through texting with them initially, et cetera, there's still some element of coldness, right? And so you'd be shocked at what you can actually do to persuade somebody if you're honest, if you're telling the truth, but you're also focusing on what's in it for them. So that's what we're going to do today.
Okay, we're back to a blank document.
All right, let me see if I can. Let me see if I have control. I think I do. Let me just type something. Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. So I've got it. All right. So today's lesson is, while it's in writing, it definitely will help you with writing, but it'll also help you with the phone because it's the same concept, right? So step one to your sales process is usually going to be an introduction, right? I'm Susie, I'm Dan, right? That's, so, you don't know me or we don't know each other, just the kind of the normal thing. The second thing is going to be your hook. All right. And so I'm going to focus on this for right now. The introduction is the obvious part where you're just kind of connecting. The nice thing about this call is it's not 100% cold. There has been some kind of communication prior through text blast. And also the seller is usually expecting you to contact me at this point. So, and they know what it's in a reference to. So it's not a cold call in a traditional sense where they have no idea who you are. They don't even know if they have a problem. And if they don't know they have a problem, they don't know if you're the one to fix it, right? So they're aware of it. Same thing for a buyer as well. Now the hook is incredibly important. Here's why. Here's what a hook is, okay? So this is what you guys, no matter what you're selling, want to start learning and become really good at. All right. Anytime I write, if you guys get emails from me and stuff like that, you notice I have a headline at the top of the sales letter, right? And when I do that, this is the process that I usually follow. Not every time, but for the most part, this is how I write my headlines. Nobody cares about you, Dan, or me when we first call. They can care less. Okay? What they care about is what's in it for them, right? So we know that people care about their favorite radio station, which is what's in it for me, WIIFM. What's in it for me? What's in it for me? In other words, if you're calling me right now, it better be real clear, real fast, the reason for your call and what's in it for me, so I'll stay on the line, right? So I'm going to say what's important in the hook is clarity. Clarity that's quickly communicated. And the idea here is that we're also going to qualify them as well. Okay, so in the hook, and I'm just going to stay here for a minute because I know it can get a little confusing, but here's the thing. If I was calling you and say, hey, Dan and Susie, this is Russell, and I don't even say my last name because you don't even care about that, right? So this is Russell from XYZ company. And the reason I'm calling you today is because you and I have been texting back and forth. So in this case, because it's not 100% cold, if I'm talking to the seller, I'm giving them a reference point. And so here's my call. And my goal today is to talk to you about selling your property for your full asking price without you having to pay any commissions and how to close in the first 7 to 14 days. So if I were to fill this blank in right here where I talk about something good would be their full asking price. And something else would be good. I might switch the order a little bit from what I just said, and I would say close in 7 to 14 days. And then without something bad would be like paying commissions. So if I can communicate this hook, a hook means they're busy, right? They're they're um they're thinking this person, Susie or Dan, is going to waste my time. And I'm busy, and my little son is pulling at my ankle and wants my attention, or my wife is doing this, or my my grandkids are doing that, whatever. So the hook is designed to stop them in their tracks and get their attention. Because before this call, before you give the hook, you do not have their attention. You should just assume that. If I'm selling my house, would you guys agree that you offering a way to show me in a few minutes how you can get me my full asking price, how you can show me how to close on my house, meaning get a viable, safe tenant buyer in 7 to 14 days, and if you can show me how to do that without paying any commissions, would that be a good hook?
Yeah, ideal.
So now you've got their what? You've got their attention, right? So now you just simply, and you have answered this question, haven't you?
Yep.
So what's that?
So do you have one that you would suggest with the buyers?
So buyers, okay. So let's put that. So we've got it for seller hook, and then we'll go down. So it's the same process, right? So we want to do this, but we're gonna just kind of do me a favor. I can't copy when I'm screen sharing. Can you copy that, and then I'll tell you when to paste it in a second.
Copy.
All right. Okay, go ahead and paste.
Got it.
Perfect. All right. So now it's going to be something different. So watch this. Does that make sense?
Exactly. Yeah.
So the time frame stayed the same. I didn't change that because, look, if I want to buy a house, what I've noticed is most of the people over the years that want to buy a house this way are usually like wanting to buy, like the real buyer wants to buy fast. All right. So is this a good hook?
Yeah. Ideal.
Have I quickly have I quickly communicated with clarity?
Yeah. Yeah.
And have I showed you what's in it for you?
Yep.
So something good plus something else good without something bad, right? Like I know that they want to achieve home ownership. I know they want to achieve it fast. And I also know that they don't want to get a credit check or go through a bank loan, because if they did want to do that, they wouldn't need to do this, right? They just go buy one through, it's free for them to buy through a realtor. They don't pay any of the commission, right? So I want you guys to memorize these hooks, because this is how you start your conversation and get their attention like that. And if what you want to say is, listen, I know you've been looking online for a rental, but if I could show you a way how you could achieve home ownership in the next 7 to 14 days without having your credit checked or having to suffer through qualifying for a bank loan, would that be something that you'd be interested in?
Right.
So what I just did, by the way, is I qualified them, and I'm setting them up so that way if they're like, oh, 10,000 down, that's too much for me. All right. So we're talking about handling the objections. So I just want you guys to know that price is a myth, right? So this amount of money is irrelevant when you have done a good job at showing the value of your hook. So the hook is where you are hooking them in, Now, obviously, you've got to get details to them because you're saying, if I could show you, right? So that assumes that you're going to show them. But with this hook, I'm saying I'm qualifying you too. Because if you're like, look, I don't care if you could show me how to achieve home ownership in 2 minutes. I don't want to buy a house because I'm going to be moving out of state 3 months after I find my next rental. Then there's no sale here. They're not my customer. Okay. So one thing I would do at that point, by the way, is I would switch gears, me personally, and I would ask them, hang on 1 second. And I would ask this to all of them, honestly. This is when you want to think of your affiliate links. By the way, don't let me forget to talk to you about that too, because we have different links that I want to put for you guys. This is where you would send them your affiliate link in an email or a text or whatever. So what I'm saying is, if you've got somebody who's just clearly not a prospect for your first offer up here, then you want to pull out your other bag of tricks and offer them your affiliate link. What do we know about them? If we know that they're open to renting, let's say that they were open to buying rent to own, but they just didn't have 10 grand or whatever, then and let's just say for whatever reason it was just not a fit, then you would offer, this is a good opportunity while you're on the phone with somebody to make another offer to them, right? To have them to send out your affiliate link if they're keeping their income options open. Most people we find are looking for a way to generate an extra $500 to $1,000. So this is a way that you can send them your link without being pushy, okay? But before we get into that, let's go back to this $10,000 is too much. All right, let's see that that's not true, and let's see that there are ways to work with them. So first of all, we know that $5,000 of that's going to go to the seller, $5,000 is going to go to you, unless you've negotiated less with the seller and more for you. But let's just take a simple example, okay? So the truth is that price is a myth. So the $10,000 price tag being too much is a myth. That is not true. All it simply means is that they're not clear about the value of your hook. Okay, they're not sure about value. So you never want to sell on price. You always want to sell on value. All right, so the value of home ownership over renting, the value of achieving home ownership when you've got bad credit or not enough not enough down payment or not enough time on your job, and the value of being able to have some of your let's see, so down payment. These are all things that you can't get when you rent. So what I would be doing at this point, and I would say, let me ask you a question. Have you ever wanted to achieve home ownership? Yes. First qualifier. What stopped you from achieving home ownership? I've got bad credit. So what you're saying, so I understand, Mr. or Mrs. Prospect, is that you wanted to achieve home ownership, but you had bad credit. You had a credit check done on you and you didn't qualify. Is that right? Yes, that's right. Now what I'm doing here is I'm repeating back what they want, what they just said, and I'm also getting them to give me a yes. I want lots of yeses in our conversation, okay? I'm gonna guide them to a yes because at the end, I want to close them, all right? Let me ask you another question, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect. If you could achieve home ownership and you could do it in the next 7 to 14 days without even checking your credit and not having to deal with the bank, would you like to know about that? Yes, I would. Awesome. Well, we've got a property that you saw online, is the reason why we're on the phone today, that you can achieve home ownership with, where your down payment of $10,000 will apply towards the purchase price, which means it'll whittle that down. So let's say, for example, it was 200,000, you'd only owe $190,000 after you made that 10,000. Plus the rental payment, 200 of it will apply towards the purchase price each and every month. So let me ask you a question, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect. 200 times 12 months is $2,400. If you just rent right now, how much of that money is going to apply towards your ownership if you just rent only? They're going to say, well, none, I'm just renting. Well, in this case, $2,400 a month, a year, times 3 years is what? 6, 8, 7,200 bucks. So you all, in 3 years of a 3-year term, you've almost recouped your $10,000, and that's just the $10,000 that you put down. Plus, if there's any equity in the home that you get over the next 2 years, that equity is yours. And you didn't even own the home. You essentially got the control over a property without owning. So if you, what's that?
That makes a lot of sense.
So what I do now is I go, but the truth is, if you don't buy, every single dollar each month is going to go down the drain. And the $10,000 would not apply towards a property that you could potentially earn $10,000 to $30,000. And in 3 years from now, you're going to be no further along in your quest to invest or own something in your name, right?
Right, that makes sense.
You're going to be no further along. That'll be 3 years down the drain. So the truth is, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, $10,000 is nothing compared to what you could be earning over the next 3 years and furthering yourself along. Those are 3 years, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, that you'll never get back.
Exactly. Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. Is there a way that, if this house was perfect, and assuming it's perfect, so here's my closing questions, okay? So let me go here and write that down. I like to start out with the human brain has a hard time avoiding questions. I mean, let me ask you a question real quick. Now, what does your brain do when I say that? You want to know what the question is, right? Because you want to give the answer. So I do that on purpose. Psychologically, I'm hooking you in again with a question because you're like, okay, what's the question? We just want to know. So the question would be, if you found the perfect dream home that you could raise your kids in. If you could notice I said, can I ask you, let me ask you a question, but I'm asking several questions. It was just a hook. I'm just trying to stop them in their tracks. Even if they tell me I can't afford it, blah, 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 I'm just hooking them a little bit longer to buy more time. I can only type.
Russell, that brings up a question that we didn't have any idea how to handle. So we relied on something that was My Credit Team. It's a place called My Credit Team.
Mm-hmm.
And we put the buyers that were interested up with this site called My Credit Team only because we knew it from our previous. And they do criminal background and credit checks. Because do we actually check the credit or do we not? Or do you have somebody that you would recommend over who we're working with? Or how much do we involve ourselves in the process of them qualifying?
Great question. I do not do a credit check. So there literally is no credit check. And the reason I don't have to is because I have sold the seller on in the beginning on the reason why the credit check is really kind of useless. It's good, but what would you rather have? An 800 credit score document in your hand or $10,000 in your bank?
Exactly.
And one of the stories I tell them, by the way, too, and this is another key, guys, that you guys definitely want to embrace. When I'm communicating something that breaks down a myth and builds up a new belief, so I'm breaking down an old belief. Old belief would be, I have to get a credit check before I rent my place. I'm gonna break that belief down and I'm gonna build up a new one. When I do that, I tell a story to do it. Stories sell, facts tell. Okay, this is incredibly important for you guys. If you tell stories to convey a new concept, especially when you're breaking down an old one and building up a new one, you're more convincing. Here's why. I'll give you an example. I remember about 12 years ago, I went bankrupt. Before I went bankrupt and lost my real estate business, I had just under an 800 credit score. If I was going to rent your place, I owned a place, but if I was going to rent your place, you totally would have rented it to me. And you know what? You would have made a huge mistake. Because a couple of months later, when my real estate business ended up failing, I would not have been able to pay you rent. Can you see, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, how that would have been a mistake for you? But had you had $5,000 non-refundable deposit from me, that you'd be in a safer place.
Yeah.
See what I just did?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I gave you a compelling argument, but in the form of a story.
So what do you check?
So what we do check is a background. We want to make sure, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, that you've got somebody who's not going to, that does not have a felony. If they do have a felony, we want it to be something extremely small and at least 10 years old that frankly could be expunged from their record anyway. Meaning they did something when they were 15 that was stupid. It wasn't murdering somebody. And it's something that, you know, since then they've become a good citizen and they made a mistake. In most cases, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we don't have people with felonies at all. So we do want to check it. We use website eRenter to check it. It's e-renter.com. And you'll be privy to that. You'll see that. Let me write that down for you. You guys want to, and I can do it for you. I mean, you have to get approved by them as a landlord, but I already am, so we can just use mine. But you see that, so that's what we check. We also check for past rental history. We check for job history. We want to make sure, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, that, you know, they have a good work history, that they have good standing with their boss. We also want to make sure that they've been on time with their last 12 months of rental history as well. Notice how I'm saying that up front. Why am I saying that up front? Because I know that's what they're thinking up front.
They know they can trust the renter that's coming in.
Well, I'm addressing the elephant in the room. That's what they're about to ask me, right? So I'm going after their objection before they bring it up. What you're going to hear is them go, yeah, okay, good. I'm glad you said that. I was thinking that. I know they're thinking that, right? So what I'm saying, the only thing we're not doing is checking the credit report. And here's why. Let me tell you a story about my partner in Los Angeles who had just under 800 FICO score right before he went bankrupt. If you would have rented to him by checking his credit score before he went bankrupt, you would have totally rented to him. And then he wouldn't be able to pay you a couple months later after he filed bankruptcy. In fact, he could have included you in the bankruptcy too. But if you had $5,000 non-refundable money in your account, wouldn't you agree, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, that's a safer thing to do?
Right.
They say, so I'm using the story to break down a myth and build up another one. Plus, you're going to let them know, look, if we check the job history, if we check their rental history, that's kind of like checking a credit report, right? I mean, we're manually underwriting this person to know that they're safe. So that's what I communicate to solve their fear of what if I get the wrong person. As far as the buyer's concerned, go back to so look at the closing question. Let me ask you a couple questions. You can say it like that, right? Look, if you found the perfect dream home, all right, it's not the perfect home for me, but it's perfect home for you. It's a dream home that you could see yourself raising your kids in. You can, it's got the space that you want. It's got everything that you want. If you could achieve home ownership, starting in as little as 7 to 14 days from now, and if you didn't have to deal with a single, qualifying for a single bank loan, no applications for a bank loan, and nobody ever checked your credit, even if you had a bankruptcy or worse, could you find the $10,000 to invest not only in this home, but in your family's future?
Right. Yep.
So memorize these hooks, guys, because, these hooks are my qualifiers. If after I say that, they're like, no, I just, I don't have it, whatever. Now, if they said I don't have the money after, I don't have the 10,000, I said, well, how much do you have? Well, I've got, because they might say, no, I don't have the money, and they've got like 7,000. So they're saying, no, I don't have 10, but I've got 7. Well, I'm gonna make a deal here, right? I mean, I want to make a deal. So I'm gonna say, perfect. I always like to start off with saying perfect. Why? Because I want to be positive with them, right? Perfect. If you can do this is one example, right? 5K now to the seller. Right, that equals 7,000. Notice I'm saying today, you know, I'm using words, these are called tie downs, right? So like I'm wanting to like get them to move forward, right? I'm not like, you know, wouldn't that be great if we could do that sometime in the future? Don't ever do that. You want to get tie downs. You want alternate close, okay? So if they say yes, your next closing question should be, this is assuming they've already seen the house. By the way, do not ever talk numbers if they've not seen the house. Never. Any idea why?
I think it'll kill the deal because they'll just kind of say to themselves, well, I have 10,000, so they'll move on.
There's no value. When I go see a house and I'm genuinely looking to rent or buy, I am making an emotional decision that I defend on logic after. When I walk into that house, I am literally mentally moving my furniture in. If I like the house, I'm mentally moving my furniture in the house. That is an emotional set of decisions. It might not even be a perfect decision, but it's a very emotional decision. What compels people to move? Think about you guys joining my mentor program. There were some emotions behind it, correct?
Right. Yeah.
That's what compelled you to send a guy you've never met face to face money.
Yep.
Correct?
Yep.
Then, when you guys talked about it later together at home, you defended that decision logically.
Yep.
Correct? Yep. So, there's nothing different about these guys. It's the same process. You've got to make sure that they've seen the property and are emotionally invested in the property. If you don't, they'll focus on the 10 grand.
Well, that's kind of what we ended up doing, Russell, and we only did that in response to the fact that almost everybody's question was, how much will I need? And really didn't know how to answer them. So I just worked it out with them. And it's what's gonna happen, and then I just had to say 5% because I found myself just reacting and answering the question of money rather than setting up a tour to see them.
Yeah. So what happened was they forced you to sell them on price and not on value. That's why if you look up here, number one, price is a myth. The 10,000 or the 200 for the house. Number two, you do not want to sell price. You want to sell value. I don't know where I wrote that, but you want to sell value. Oh, here it is. Yeah. Never sell on price, only on value. So let me share with you guys something, a story I once heard years back that helped me kind of really understand this concept. It's really more of a statement, and that is that nobody who ever bought a drill wanted a drill. They wanted a hole, right? So what happens is when we're selling something, selling is just transferring a belief. We're oftentimes selling the features of the drill. But when I buy a drill, I can care less about the drill. What I want is the hole. I want what the drill does for me. And most people who are not sales professionals are focused on selling the features of the drill. Well, the drill's got this supersonic battery, whatever charger that, you know, it's got a super sharp drill that'll, you know, looks real shiny and it's metal and it's made of the best quality, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. It's not what I'm buying the drill for. I'm buying the drill for a hole.
Right.
So what you should be selling me on is the hole will be perfectly round. It'll be smooth. It'll hold up the painting, the beautiful painting that you bought or that you inherited from your grandmother, who you loved dearly for so many years that you were close to. And imagine how it'll hang over your couch so that way you can, every time you walk in the room, you'll always see that painting. You see what I'm doing? I'm not selling the vehicle. I'm not selling the drill. I'm selling the end result that they want. Imagine moving into this home, achieving home ownership, even when you thought it was impossible because you had terrible credit, but this time you didn't have to have your credit checked. And imagine what it would be like raising your two beautiful little children, having them play in a safe neighborhood in the backyard on the swing set that's back there and the pool that we've got. You see what I'm doing? So I'm selling the whole. So I'm not selling $10,000. I'm selling the end result, the whole that they want, the house. I'm selling value. So closing question, if they can do the 3K over 3 months, you're going to finance that for them at 10%. If they say yes to that, my next closing question is, can you put them a small deposit down of X amount of money, either tomorrow or the following day? I'm not going to be like, great, well, give me a call sometime this week. Don't do that. No. Can you put the deposit down either tomorrow or the following day? And here's the reason I'm asking that question, Mr. Prospect. We've got 3 other people that are interested right now. Unfortunately, due to the nature of our business, we've got to go with whoever steps up first. This is a first come, first served type of thing. This is a very attractive house. And if you can imagine, not only is it a beautiful home that you can raise your kids in, park both of your cars and your RV, etc., but you can achieve the benefits of home ownership without having your credit checked. You can build up equity without actually owning the house. Look, you can do something good without something bad. You see what I'm doing? Good. You can do this good thing without this bad thing. You can do this other good thing without this other bad thing. Right? I'm just digging hooks in there. I'm hooking them in. I'm making this an irresistible offer. Right? And so the reason I'm asking if you can put that deposit ASAP is because, as you can see, this is a competitive situation. Whoever comes first gets the house. So if you can put it down either Monday or Tuesday, this will work. Susie, what day can you put the deposit down, Monday or Tuesday?
Right.
So answer the question for role playing, Monday or Tuesday?
I think I can do it Tuesday.
Perfect. Can you do it morning or afternoon?
I'll try and get it in the morning.
Awesome. 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock?
Yeah. Let's try for 10.
Love it. Listen, if you can get it in by 10, and please don't try, make sure that it's in at 10, because look, at 10:01, Susie, I'm going to assume that you backed out. Is that fair enough? Because again, I've got other people waiting right now. So if you don't do it, unfortunately, I'm going to have to give the house away to somebody else. So I'm with you. I want to make sure that you win and get this house, but you've got to keep your word. I know I'm going to keep my word. Is that fair?
That makes sense.
Susie, yeah. Tuesday at 10 a.m., I'll expect that money in there. The house will be locked up and yours. We'll stop marketing it to anybody else and we'll notify everybody else they can't buy the house. I'm excited for you. I'm excited to help you achieve home ownership in 7 to 14 days without having your credit checked or having to suffer through applying through a bank loan. I'm excited for you. Have a great day.
Woo! Now that's a party.
See the difference? So I'm not being like pushy, but I'm being real crystal clear and direct with them, aren't I?
Yes, and that's definitely something I had to learn with this last batch of buyers. Is I had to actually get control of myself from everybody and be in control of the conversation.
And in control of the deal. You know, you're the investor, right? So these are the alternate closes. obviously this will change depending on what their answer is, right? So if they said afternoon, then you would say, great, 3 or 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
What's happening is they understand that you're serious. Like what they say to you has to mean something, because don't they expect that what you say to them means something?
Exactly. Yeah. And that was where I was weak in the conversations and the texts, and everything just kind of went willy-nilly. I was overwhelmed, calling some people, texting others, confused with who I responded to, confused with what I said to who. And then I had in the ad, some of the ads were saying call us on our business phone. Some of them were calling us directly from a different ad. So I had things coming at me from everywhere, and I realized that I needed to definitely streamline, get a hold of myself, unfreeze, and engage. So it was a good thing to learn. It was just trial by fire, really.
Well, I'm excited for you guys because now you've got a clear path to closing these clients. Whether it's a seller or a buyer, doesn't matter. You've got a clear direction to take them through and either qualify them or disqualify them.
Exactly. Yeah, it was kind of a mess. We had 3 of them. One ended rather oddly. She quit talking to us for a couple days and then said, just take down the ad. We're going in a different direction. So that was the nicest unit. The second guy said, I'm beginning to realize that there's building near my unit, and this is not going to be the way for me to try to make the deal work.
Yeah.
So that was take down the ad. The only one we have left is Chris, the guy that you spoke with, construction worker, Gillette, Wyoming.
Yeah.
The good thing that is he also is looking for a seller finance home for himself.
There you go. You can double end it.
Exactly. We just found connected investors. I don't know why. I think you may have mentioned that, or I saw it in some store marketing. But we found connected investors, and we think, based on just seeing that yesterday, that that's going to be a good way to post our ads.
Yep.
Which is free.
Yeah.
And what about if he's looking for something specifically in Gillette, Wyoming, and we have no idea where to send him?
So the truth is, I normally like to find the asset and then just have the buyers come to it. It is more challenging to start the other direction. So it is possible to double in it. We could probably talk about this when he's ready to go and see if there's some other options to explore that'll make this easier for you. Because what I don't want you to do, being that you don't have some kind of an agency agreement with him because you're not licensed. Number one, I don't want you to break any brokering laws and get yourself in trouble. Number two, I don't want you to waste your time. So usually there are some methods that I've got that are kind of getting them to essentially find their own place, and then you would just know which properties to contact from the get-go in order to ask the sellers if they're open to a rent-to-own. So let's cross that bridge when he's ready to go on that, but let's get his house sold first.
Perfect.
I got a rock. Great call. Hopefully this was valuable for you.
Yes, Russell, just how do we get the link for the affiliate?
Let me send you the link to register for that when I jump off the call.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.